The kingdom of Valenreach had been forged in blood long before Queen Seraphina ever wore the crown. Its stone walls were thick with history, wars won, cities burned, enemies silenced. And standing at the heart of every conquest was General Kael. He was not born a monster, but the kingdom had shaped him into one. Kael was the queen's right hand, the blade that struck before mercy could speak. His name alone could empty villages and break rebellions without a single sword raised. He believed in order through fear, peace through dominance. In his mind, weakness was treason, and compassion a luxury kingdoms could not afford. Queen Seraphina knew this. She also knew something Kael did not. While he marched armies and crushed resistance, she listened, she watched, she gathered whispers like threads and wove them into a net strong enough to catch a beast. For years, her spies followed Kael's campaigns, burned border towns, unlawful executions, prisoners who never returned. Names, dates, witnesses, proof. She never confronted him openly, not until the day his own shadow betrayed him. The trap was sprung quietly. No soldiers stormed his chambers, no dramatic arrest. Kael was summoned to the throne room under the guise of a war council. When he arrived, armor polished and confidence intact, he found the court empty, except for the queen. Scrolls lay spread across the marble floor like fallen banners. Seraphina did not raise her voice, she did not accuse. She simply asked him to read. At first, Kael laughed. Then his breath slowed. Then his hands clenched. Every crime was there, every order he had given in the dark, every village he had erased for the sake of stability, even the ones he barely remembered. "You mistake victory for justice," Seraphina said calmly, "and power for loyalty." Kael reached for his sword out of instinct. The blade never left its sheath. Guards stepped from the shadows, not to attack him, but to seal the doors. "You could destroy me," he said, "if you wished." "Yes," Seraphina replied, "but that would change nothing." She gave him a choice. A public trial for war crimes, his name dragged through the streets, his legacy shattered, execution at dawn. Or redemption, not forgiveness, not power, redemption. Seraphina had begun forming a new force, an army not built on fear, but protection. Soldiers trained to guard borders, evacuate civilians, rebuild instead of burn. She offered Kael a place in it, not as a general, not as a commander, as a foot soldier. He would wear no insignia, take no orders, speak no commands. He would learn again what it meant to serve, to protect, to kneel. Kael's pride screamed, his rage boiled, but beneath it all, something unfamiliar stirred. Exhaustion. He had ruled through terror for so long that he no longer remembered why he had begun fighting at all. He chose redemption. The fall from power was not sudden, it was crushing. Kael's armor was taken, his name stripped from banners. Soldiers who once bowed now walked past him without recognition. He was given a plain uniform and a rusted blade, assigned to the lowest unit of the peace army. At first, he despised it. The training was different. No brutality, no punishment through pain. Discipline was taught through responsibility. Soldiers trained in rescue, negotiation, defense. Kael mocked it in silence. Until the first mission. A border village caught between rival clans. The old Kael would have burned both sides and called it order. This new army evacuated children, treated the wounded, stood between attackers without striking first. When an arrow flew from the crowd, Kael reacted on instinct, stepping forward, taking the hit meant for a young soldier behind him. The pain shocked him more than the wound. No one cheered, no one praised him. They simply treated his injury and moved on. Weeks passed, then months. Kael learned to carry water instead of command troops, to stand watch instead of plan sieges, to listen to farmers who spat at his feet when they recognized him. Hatred followed him everywhere, and he accepted it. At night, he dreamed of fire. He began to see the cost of his past not as numbers, but faces. Children afraid of his banners, mothers who flinched at his footsteps, villages that could have been saved. Queen Seraphina never visited him, she never interfered. Redemption, she believed, could not be supervised. The moment that broke him came during a storm. A landslide buried a remote settlement. The peace army was dispatched to rescue survivors. The terrain was unstable, the risk high. Kael volunteered without hesitation. As they dug through mud and stone, a second collapse struck. A child was trapped beneath a fallen beam. The structure groaned, seconds from giving way. Kael shoved others back and braced the beam with his own body. His muscles screamed, blood filled his mouth. He held on, not for glory, not for command, but because letting go was no longer an option. They pulled the child free. The structure collapsed moments later. Kael was buried. When they dragged him out, broken and barely conscious, he did not ask if he would live. He asked if the child was safe. That was the moment the beast died. Recovery was slow. Pain followed him like a shadow. But so did change. Other soldiers began to trust him, not as a leader, but as a shield. He taught recruits how to survive battle without losing themselves. He stepped between civilians and danger without being asked. Years passed. Queen Seraphina finally summoned him again. He entered the throne room as he once had, but this time without armor, without pride. "You have served longer than required," she said. Kael bowed deeply. "I will serve longer if needed." She studied him, the scars, the humility, the absence of hunger for power. "You are no longer the man I condemned, nor the one who ruled beside me." She offered him a new role, guardian of the realm, not a general, not a ruler, a protector, answerable to the people, bound by law, stripped of absolute power. Kael accepted without hesitation. The kingdom changed slowly, as all true change does. Stories spread, not of the monster Kael once was, but of the silent guardian who stood watch at borders, who rebuilt what he once destroyed. He never asked for forgiveness. He earned something harder, trust. And in the end, when history recorded his name, it did not call him a conqueror. It called him proof that even the darkest blade could be reforged into a shield.